Greetings from Spark. In today's video podcast, I have again chosen an article from my book, Self-Empowering Wisdom, Volume 1, and give you a brief explanation or a summary of this article. The title of this article is Myth as an Expression of Truth. I opened this article with Joseph Campbell's quote, the essence of which, as Campbell says, myth is a symbol, an approximate expression of truth, an insight into a more profound than scientific description and a logical analysis that can ever achieve at the time of the creation of the myth. This procedure is quite legitimate, provided we understand what is being done. This is the essence of the quote. Now, what has happened over the 2000 to 5000 years before which the myths were written is that we have misunderstood and completely assigned a factual, historical dimension and a validity to the mythological stories. This is true of all religious texts. Most of the thing was written as a quasi-myth or quasi-historical, wherein we find that certain historical elements were used and added with a spiritual meaning so that it could be useful to people. In the rational age, these two factors of the dominance of literal interpretation so that it can appeal to reason, and the historical validity by calling upon a historical witness as a writer of these mythologies as being present during that particular event has completely distorted the view of how to go about reading mythological scriptures. Now, I would like to just take upon only one particular book and give you a snapshot of what has happened. Let us take the book of Genesis and the creation story. The symbols employed, such as sacred garden, the flow of water from the underworld, the serpent, the opening of one's eyes, cherubim, and the flaming sword, are all common symbols that appear throughout the ancient Near East in biblical times. The very origin of all these things could be traced to Sumerian mythologies. In the mythology, there is a strong invocation to the psychology of the listener through universal archetypes as elements in the myth. Let us take the serpent in the garden. Those of us who have done consciousness studies know that a coiled serpent, or the Ouroboros, was a symbol of unity consciousness, that is, no separation of human consciousness from nature. But the snake on the tree of knowledge represent the evolutionary level of consciousness wherein human beings moved from an integral approach to consciousness with nature and the universe to an egoistic mode and said, I am. This was his downfall, which led to his expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Sumerian mythology also talks about Marduk and Tiamat, the man and the dragon. Vedic lore talks about Indra and Virtra, the dragon and the serpent. Greek mythology talks about Zeus and Typhon. All these myths are told to evoke and make humanity keenly aware of our pure primal consciousness. In whatsoever scriptures that we see that these archetypes are used to enrich the understanding of the myths. So, my request through this article is that we read not just the literal interpretation, but the deeper meaning of all that is told in the scriptures so that our spiritual life can be empowered. Please read the full article in my book, and thank you for watching and listening.